Akhetaten's Gates, Chapter 20. The following morning, I awoke to such busy noises. I sat up, finding that Akhetaten was already awake and rushing about, trying to get cleaned and dressed. Those poor servants were rushing after him, every one tripping over furniture or one another. Outside, I could hear crowds gathering and noisily awaiting Akhenaten's appearance. Of course, I, as the proper wife, wanted to be by his side to support him. But then, of course, it would have really helped if I knew what it was that I was to be supporting. The only other concern of mine was the time of day of which he wanted to make his announcement. He wasn't joking when he said, first thing in the morning. Akhetaten, did it have to be this early? He paused merely to give me a laugh, causing servants to accordion crash into each other and inevitably into him. Quick to recover, forgive, and forget, he spoke to me. Nefertiti, new news should be told of the birth of a new day. I want Aten to hear it loud and clear while it still rests partway on the earth. He took hold of my arms, trying to pull my pregnant self out of the bed. He called for my handmaidens and nonchalantly handed me to them like a sack of laundry. He had some good strong arms with hints of fine muscles. No bodybuilder by any means. Not even close. But he certainly wasn't weak either. Perhaps not completely visible, but certainly felt and appreciated by yours truly. Be quick, girls! Clean her up and get her dressed. I demand that she be by my side when I make my most important announcement. No longer did I have a choice, as I simply lay like a sack of laundry as the girls dragged me away, in good spirits, to carry out Pharaoh's command and their duties. I made no fight as they bathed me, anointed me so that I would smell especially fresh and pleasing to him, dressed me in fine linens, amulets, and other fine jewelry, and of course, they painted my face with the best of makeup. I was beautiful. Once my satisfaction had been met, I was led to where my husband awaited me just before a balcony. Happily, I rushed over to him. I would have done so sooner if Egyptians had access to friggin' coffee. I wrapped my arms about my husband and sniffed him with great delight like a dog in heat. Oh, he smelled nice. He chuckled, finding my antics rather amusing, and half dragged me in that manner onto the balcony. On sight, the populace fell silent, sending me flying back into some sense of reality. I cleared my throat and released my husband, standing tall and proud, with a silly little grin. My people, good morning, Akhetaten called down to them. I have wonderful news. Upon my ventures, I came upon a piece of virgin land, resting between the mighty lands of Luxor and Memphis. It was as if it had magically been placed there out of the blue. He turned and motioned with great excitement for a scribe to hurry beside him, opposite me. This man was one of several that had traveled with Akhetaten those long, lonely days. Like king, like servant, as the scribe seemed quite excited to be there. Throughout my father's reign, a god has looked over this kingdom in obscurity, yet in such plain sight. It holds within it no gender, soaring and standing in a complete, perfect, and unquestionable symmetry. It is balance, and it is unity unto itself. The disk, the mighty sun disk, reaches out with rays, innumerable hands for which to lay upon its people and place blessings upon them. It is Aten! The people below let out a shocked gasp. In fact, I did too. They set immediately to whispering amongst one another, trying to make some sense of this strange presentation. Aten certainly wasn't a new god or concept. Evidence of it was found pretty far back, and even in the reign of Amenhotep III, it was not foreign. But to put such prominence on it as such a powerful deity was certainly queer to them. This move was bold, even for Akhetaten. The Hebsed festival. It had been planned all along for this purpose, hadn't it? He was giving his faith, the reality of Atenism, a foundation on which to stand and grow. As if it wasn't ridiculous enough to be praising a relatively obscure god of little importance, Then did he not demand the scribe hold high a slab of which only the people in the first few rows would be able to see it only somewhat clearly? It was a map of Egypt, marking the major cities of Luxor and Memphis, and a large drawing of Aten to signify where the special place had rested. Those further back, who could not see, they would get their chance soon enough. For those who would never see the slab, or any image of the lands of Egypt, as it would change, they would see it with their own eyes and feel its existence in due time. He continued to make the scribe hold it up proudly. Behold, Akhetaten, of which Aten desires me to make unto it a monument in its name forever. It was Aten, my father, that led me to Akhetaten. Not a noble directed me to it, no scribe, or courtier, or servant, to say, it is fitting for his majesty to build Akhetaten in this place. It was Aten, my father, that directed me to it, to make it for him, as Akhetaten. Everyone was surprisingly and eerily silent. One of the younger nobles near the front finally raised his hand. I have a question, your majesty. Akhenaten duly turned his attention to him, and nodded to him in acknowledgement. Are you suggesting that we abandon the capital and build this Akhetaten of yours? Akhenaten gave a twinge. I could see it clearly in him. He had been offended. But, politely, he held himself together professionally, and regally, and patiently. Well, yes, of course. Luxor is for Amun. Aten must have its own city if it is to be pleased properly. Oh, okay, the noble called back to him. I just wanted to clarify is all. I shook my head as Akhetaten grew his gentle smile once more. A few courtiers were rubbing the bridge of their noses, a little annoyed with such nonsense spouting from the crowd. I want to begin planning and construction at once. My middleman, Ramose. He motioned towards a man who was coming onto the balcony with us, stepping beside my husband as the scribe stepped down respectively. We'll lead the tradesmen, craftsmen, and artisans of my choice to this spot as early as the next 7 days to begin swiftly. Creative volunteers will be of the first priority. Patriotic individuals should be commended. And to my surprise, yet again, a few people below actually raised their hands. This obviously pleased Akhenaten immensely. Fantastic! Ramose, be quick about taking these names in their trades. I commend their enthusiasm. Ramose gave a nod and turned, placing a hand on the scribe's shoulder. The scribe, in turn, followed obediently after him. Akhenaten then continued, I have a grand challenge for my artisans. Some of you are already aware of experiments being done to move and evolve into a modern style of art. I wish to continue this evolution. You will have your work cut out for you. Akhenaten, I whispered, are you sure this is a wise thing to do? He gave me a surprised glance. This move will not be immediate, my love, but in due time, this will be our destiny. You just rest easy for now. Akhetaten will take time to build. A foundation has not yet been laid, nor plans drawn by my architects. I gave a sigh and sunk back into the palace. I don't want to have to adjust again. I finally found a home. I'm tired of having to be uprooted every few years. Moving simultaneously from Memphis to Luxor and back again is enough chaos. He frowned a moment. He faked his smile to bid farewell to the people below, and retreated duly after to follow me as they cheered. Nefertiti, I can't stay here. There are just far too many unwelcome and painful memories. I can't handle it for much longer, Nefertiti. I just can't. We can make 1,000,000 of our own memories here, but they just can't erase the misery I felt growing up. I understand that, but I need some stability, I sighed. I want for you to be happy. But with the same token, Aten is giving us a gift. It is our honor to accept it. Don't you agree? Well, yes, I replied. Well, I mean... Oh, very well. We will go to this Akhetaten of yours. Ours, Nefertiti. It will be ours. But swear to me, Akhenaten. Swear to me that we will stay there. I grow weary of the idea of flittering from place to place, palace to palace. I want to settle down. I swear it, he agreed swiftly. Akhetaten will be our permanent home. It will be the foundation of a whole new world, a whole new religion, and will stand as Egypt's new capital. I gave him a weak smile and hugged myself against him. Really, I couldn't remain upset on any level. I was still so happy to finally have him return to me after so long. Is that her? A voice called in utter shock. Could it really and truly be her? My Nefertiti? Could it be? No, but then it was. I turned to see a face I haven't seen in many years. Not since that day long ago on the banks of the Nile. It was I. This was the man that sired me, tried to save me from the jaws of death, and lost me. Father? Oh, my precious Nefertiti, I thought you were dead. Oh, how did you ever manage to cheat death? How are you? My, you are more beautiful than ever. He had a grand life about him that made him shine with an aura of gold. He hadn't changed much over the years, had he? His smile was wide and white, much as I remembered it from the grand parties and get-togethers. Akhenaten had sent for him, from Memphis, to meet me here in Luxor. Your presence makes me happy, I smiled. It has been far too long, and I wasn't even sure myself if you still lived. But we are here together again, and we can be a family once more. Yes, once again, you will be a fine little girl, but then also a grand queen. Ah, how proud am I of this sight to behold! I opened my mouth to retell the grand semi-fabricated story about how I came to be where I was. However, I felt a violent sensation rush throughout my body, sending me doubling forward. Ow! I'm in labor! Akhenaten stiffened with a wide-eyed expression. As I started to crumble further forward, he jolted forward, with both I and himself trying to hold me up and escort me along to the birthing room. But, unable to stay on my feet, they practically dragged me along. Tepi! Tepi! Call the midwives together! We're having a baby! I'm having a baby! I cried out. You're going to watch! Tepi came obediently, mumbling incoherently with a whiny tone as he took me from them, now having to drag me along by himself. This, in itself, was rather awkward. Unable to keep on my feet, he had to turn me onto my back and drag me backwards like a large sack of potatoes. Quite a whimsical thing to see, wouldn't you say so? Akhenaten wiped his face, trying to gather himself. I rushed to him, grabbing him by the arms, forgetting his manners. This is so exciting, my pharaoh! My daughter, Queen of Egypt, is in labor. I am so honored to be here in this great house to witness the birth of a prince. Get your hands off me, he scolded, without even thinking. How can you be so sure of the gender of a grandchild you only learned existed 10 seconds ago? I seemed rather surprised by such words and began to stammer for some sort of explanation or comeback. Coming up the corridor, having heard the commotion, was Queen T, Akhetaten, and Meridaten. My princess, quite out of her character, was hiding behind T's skirt. Daddy, she called as they approached him. Grandma says that Mommy is having a baby. Yes, that is so. My intuitions are always correct. My instincts are therefore flawless, T declared. Who's the ugly man? Meridaten asked, as though it was the most natural question in the world. Now, Meridaten, it would do you good to learn to behave yourself, your tongue included, when you are about in public. He scolded this gently. This is your other grandfather. This is your mother's father. I. Meridaten leaned in, studying the man very carefully. I was, of course, rather pleased to meet his firstborn granddaughter, but, unfortunately, she didn't seem all that rather keen on him. She crinkled up her face and kicked him in the shin without a qualm. I dropped to his knees and let out a cry of pain. Akhetaten! Akhetaten scolded. That wasn't very nice at all. That wasn't nice, Akhetaten, Akhetaten imitated, dramatically shaking her finger at her, causing her whole arm to bob. That's a bad girl. But you have to admit, it was pretty damn funny, T laughed, pointing at the pathetic sight. Mother, he spat, don't undermine me and teach her such horrible influence. Boy, I can do as I please. I've done my job as a queen and mother. Now I'm grandmother, and I'm entitled to think however I wish to think. Now, be silent of this nonsense. Pick this pathetic noble off the floor, and let's go watch a birth. Mother, I want to see the baby. Can we see the baby? The girls pleaded simultaneously. Akhetaten can only let out a long, tired sigh. The birthing room was as cool as I had remembered it the last time. Once Teppy had finally managed to drag me into the birthing room, midwives managed to sweep about me and escort me to the birthing blocks. In moments, T and Akhetaten made their appearance. I'm sure my father was right behind them. I was very sure, as I saw him. But leave it to T to be the mischievous one, slamming the door smack into his face. I was taking long, slow breaths in between my contractions. No need to panic. No need to panic. I had done all of this once before, and it turned out fine. This would turn out fine. Yes, I just had to keep telling myself that. Should we gut her out like a birdie? Troll Nurse smiled, cleaning off a large knife. What? No! Akhetaten panicked, not finding any humor in the old hag. Regardless, she gave amused chuckles as T came beside him and rubbed his back comfortingly. He was no fan of morbid jokes, and he was less open-minded at such times. Now, unarmed, Troll Nurse situated herself before me, ready to get to work. You're too tight, my pharaoh. She will do fine. Look at these hips. She was built for giving birth. He wiped the sweat from his face, trying to calm himself. Nefertiti, how do you feel? How do I feel? How do I feel? You want to know how I feel? Pull your bottom lip over the back of your head. Pull it around and pin it to your penis. How would that feel? Somehow, for some reason, I almost expected him to try it, simply to be able to fully empathize with me. But he covered his face instead, deciding it was safer to hide behind his mother. Oh, Mother, I love you. Really, I am so sorry for having done such things and causing you such pain. She replied with a good-natured laugh. It gets easier the more you have, son. She then stroked his face affectionately, as if remembering the day that he was born. He had grown so much since then, and he wasn't a baby anymore. Now he was a parent himself, soon twice over. She just needs to bloom. Bloom? I exclaimed. Never again. This garden is far past deflowered. This got a wave of laughter from everyone except myself and Akhetaten. Perhaps if I were in their position, I'd have laughed too. But I was the one squatting on blocks, ready to plop a human being the size of a watermelon out of my crotch. Not in a funny mood. I was in labor for hours, until I was finally urged to push. And T was right, I had to admit. This birth came much easier than my last. Get your act together, girls! Troll Nurse scolded the young midwives. Oh, you two are worthless! I'll just have to do this all by myself. And with that, she left. She left! I was having a baby and she left! T and Akhetaten glanced at one another. He let out a confused sigh, then choked as he sucked in a gasp of air. The head is coming! He rushed forward, pushing the girls out of his way, taking over himself. I couldn't even really argue with the situation, as the baby was coming, and there was nothing to be done about it. Akhetaten took hold of the baby in his hands, providing the much-needed support as the baby slid from my body and completely into his hands. Then it let out a cry, free for me at last. Not even interested in cleaning the baby first, he cradled it close to his body. Oh, this feeling coming over me. It's like nothing I've ever felt before. I've never seen anything like it, T chuckled. Your father would never have done anything like that. My second child. This is one of the proudest moments of my life. Akhetaten, I panted. It's a girl, he told me, handing her to me. And she is beautiful, T cheered, as she clapped her hands. I couldn't help but find myself thinking back to the day that I gave birth to Akhetaten. Yes, this was just as proud of a moment. It was hard to believe that girl had once been this tiny, and that this tiny little baby would get that big and bigger. What are you waiting for? T cried out, giving her son a gentle push. Name her! Name her! What am I to call my second grandchild? I smiled at him. He took great delight in this sort of thing, didn't he? Born on the day I declare my city in God, she will forever be protected by Aten, and so she will be named. Behold, Akhetaten!